Welcome back to another episode of InboundREM's Whiteboard Thursday. And today we're going to talk about, is SearchGPT Armageddon for real estate? Because boy, if you listen to the prognosticators that are out there, it would certainly seem like this is going to be the end-all, be-all. Well, I've been testing SearchGPT, as have many other search experts, and let's break it out for you. All right, what is it really going to do, and what is it really? Is it going to change things, and if so, by how much? So, what is SearchGPT? OpenAI, the people that are leading the AI revolution, have added a plugin, a feature to ChatGPT, which mostly, when it started, was being distributed by Microsoft, which is 8% of the people using search engines and browsers were using Microsoft products, okay? That's 8%. And then they started to get some buzz, and now that number has increased to about 20 or 30% of people are drifting over onto Microsoft and basically downloading ChatGPT and using it as a plugin or a tool. And some people are accessing this tool through Google, and some people are accessing it through Bing. But what is SearchGPT? Well, SearchGPT is the direct answer from OpenAI to the AI that's being presented by Google and other people, Bard and other systems. Basically, it's all basic, like a piece of search functionality. And ChatGPT has been getting themselves in a lot of trouble because they have not been doing attribution very well. And that's really the only thing that's changed with SearchGPT, is they have finally started to do attribution. In other words, you're not supposed to pull stuff off a web page and not credit the original web page. It is just absolutely amazing to me that ChatGPT is not yet overwhelmed with a flood of lawsuits, okay? Because they were taking everybody else's content and not giving the owners of that content credit. SearchGPT fixes that problem. And when they fix that problem, they're able to add it as, offer it as a plugin through the Google Store and the Apple Store. And now you can search using the same ChatGPT-like functionality that's already been in existence, except you can get it as a plugin through all the app stores, because this actually does adhere to the rules that the search engines have to play by. ChatGPT, as a startup, wasn't adhering to those rules. All right, so what is it? You enter a search and you get a reduced result. In other words, it takes all the data that you would look at, like big search pages. I want a recipe for apple pie. Somebody goes on to describe how their grandmother's recipe is the best recipe in the world. It removes all that and just gives you the recipe for apple pie. It is a more convenient way to search for people who are looking for bite-sized pieces of information. That's about 30% of the people doing searches. In other words, many of us at certain times, and by the way, Google has already been heading in this direction for years with things like featured snippets and abbreviated answers inside their search results. This is literally nothing all that new. It is just a slightly different way, and a company really leaning into a lot of buzz. But how is it different than Google search, which is what I've kind of drifted into answering for you right now? All right, so ChatGPT does offer a lot of ancillary functionality. You can do things, you can create scripts and write and do all sorts of cool things with the searches once they're done, making SearchGPT actually different from Google search in that way. Google search, like if you're just looking for the information, are these two things really truly different? Not so much. But if you're looking for information and, like I want to find a recipe for apple pie, I want to compare it against 4 other recipes, or I want the internet's most popular recipe for apple pie. You can say, I want the internet's most popular recipe for apple pie, And you'll just get that recipe with a lot of different supporting things. And then you could say, translate that recipe into vocal instructions so that I can have somebody talking to me while I'm doing the recipe. AI, like SearchGPT, will do all that for you. Google search will not, or at least not as efficiently. They can do it, you can get it to do it, but it's not as efficient. So this is providing certain types of functionality that is more efficient. There are definitely pros and cons of SearchGPT that are going to affect real estate agents. A pro of SearchGPT is like if you are, let's say, I want to learn how to write a listing description, and then you can get SearchGPT to write out a listing description for you, and then you can edit it. Okay, SearchGPT and ChatGPT combine a lot of really cool functionality seamlessly. That is a pro. A con is they are still basically doing limited attribution. They don't have the data. They don't have the index that Google does. They can literally not do the same kind of attribution that Google does. That is definitely a con. Because if you're the person, now all of you were talking about searching, and most of your clients, this con may or may not be relevant. Okay? But if you ever produce a piece of content, a video, blog post, anything that where you're sharing your expertise with the world, this is definitely a con. And there's gonna be like a crap ton, like there was for Napster back in the day. There will be a crap ton of consequence, but nobody cares because what SearchGPT and OpenAI are doing in general is moving so fast that the courts and everybody else can't keep up with them. And that's great. That's a pro in a way because they're trying to reach mass adoption. And certainly all the big companies that are looking at what they're doing and they're going, shoot, you've leaped out ahead of us. And that's where you're seeing all those big providers talk about billions of dollars investment in search. But how does this affect a real estate agent? Well, we don't have all the data yet, but here's the data that I've seen. Pros and cons. Oh, well, actually, I'm sorry. I've moved into what do we believe the impact will be on searches that are one of the relevant for real estate professionals. Let's continue to do a few pros and cons. So a pro of SearchGPT is basically, it's like, most of you probably haven't heard of this. There's this little app that you can get on your phone called Headwind. Okay, Headwind takes big novels and like uses an AI-like piece of functionality to take the primary granular pieces of knowledge and breaks out a 553-page book into 4 pages of relevant cliff notes. That's what SearchGPT does. 100% that's what it does. And it's a pro. A con is that when you want to do deeper research, SearchGPT is not the answer. It is only the answer when you want quick bite-sized pieces, which means that while it's cool and it's new, it's definitely not as revolutionary as everybody is saying that it is. Okay, it's just simply not. Is it leading the charge to make other big companies try to catch up? It absolutely is. That buzz is real. But a con of this SearchGPT thing is the buzz doesn't yet actually equal anything that you should be wasting your time on unless you just aren't a fan of Google search. Then by all means, try SearchGPT. So what do we believe that would be the impact of searches that are relevant for real estate professionals? Because as a whole, as an inbound marketer, I consider myself a storyteller first. Search engines and search engine optimization, which is something I've spent 16 years getting good at, is still only a method of getting our message in front of people. That's it. And I picked a very hard thing because not very many other people are very good at it. That's why I picked it, is I was willing to do the work and the effort, and I knew that once the moat was created for my business, it would be very unlikely anybody else would swim across it. And so obviously with all that time invested, you'd think, oh, I'm married to the idea that Google is going to be the end all be all. I'm really not. Just to say it, I'm not. Because if AI is the thing, I'll just learn AI. You know, I've already spent years. I like learning. It's a passion for me. I do love technology. But here's what the beta testing on SearchGPT has been so far. So about 30% of the people that are using it use it over a traditional search engine. Now that's early adopters, people that are already inclined to do something different with technology. Even those people that signed up to be the beta testers didn't necessarily use SearchGPT in abundance over 30%. It impacted local searches 0%. As a matter of fact, in the beta testers, and this is not definitive data, this is just data I've read and I don't have sources to attribute it to. I've just been following along with notes of other bloggers and other YouTubers and other people testing and things like that. And none of those people are real estate specific. So this is all really high level generalization. But so far, the traffic that I've been able to track seems to say that, number one, local searches, Google My Business searches are impacted not at all. If anything, there seems to be a slightly elevated drift towards local. Because the more that search is commoditized, the more that people will eventually find channels to find individuals, influencer type marketing. And the two places that they're going to do that is Google My Business and YouTube, which are already incredibly relevant. And you've already seen me talking about these things 1,000 different ways. The reason I don't mention Instagram or Facebook in as much proliferation is Instagram and Facebook lock their algorithms down, so they're not affected by SearchGPT or Google. This is only a Google competitor, not Instagram and Facebook. They lock their platforms down. They can't get crawled, which means that there is no index, which means that they are zero impacted by SearchGPT. They're creating their own solutions internally, and Meta is basically trying to convince you it's better, which right now it's not. They're light years away. What do we believe the impact will be on searches? You know, my last and final prognostic, listen, is SearchGPT and other AI kind of tools going to be relevant? Yes. But real estate agents are supposed to be lifestyle ambassadors. That's what Google has wanted for years. The drift towards that kind of market, like if we do homes for sale and do SearchGPT, homes for sale in city name, of course they're going to attribute Zillow and Redfin or one of the big sites. You're never going to get attributed. Never. What you will get attributed for is if you say, what's lake life like on Lake Okoboji? Okay, that will attribute 100% in SearchGPT or in Google, like a local website. All realtors, really, if you're interested at all in inbound marketing in the digital sphere, you really need to get used to the idea that you have to be a lifestyle ambassador and that you're probably going to have to personally contribute to that brand building. And it doesn't matter whether you're a broker. Like, look at Local Property Inc. That's a broker with 100 plus agents. That is a client of ours. And the broker has, over many years of conversation with us, has slowly but surely become a digital lifestyle brand ambassador for Fairhope, Alabama. And it's been incredibly successful. We're on the first page for Fairhope, Alabama, but we're connected into those searches via lifestyle conversation that's happening. YouTube videos, blog posts, things like that. The search engine has been going that way for years, and they're still in that way, and this would be very low impact through SearchGPT or Google search. The strategy for those small handful of you that are interested in resilient strategies, navigating the digital ecosphere, they're the same. There is no, 3, 4, there's little flashes in the pan of market conditions, such as right now it's really relevant to be repping new home developments. But is that going to stay relevant? Probably not. The economy will change, the generations are silvering, the real estate market will change 2 or 3 years from now. It's not going to be nearly as much of a hot button. However, lifestyle and local will both probably consistently be super hot. So if you wanted to make long-term consistent investments in your marketing, you would be lifestyle, video, local, same stuff I've been talking about for a while. But I hope this answers some of the questions you might have about SearchGPT. It is not Armageddon for real estate. I'm sorry, the algorithms love excitement words like this, so I used it. I apologize. But it is relevant. It will be impactful. Okay, I don't want to misrep, but I would say on a scale of 0 to 10, 0 is 0 impact, 10 is like everything's going to change, I'd give it a 3 or 4. Thanks for tuning in. I've been Robert Newman. Check out InboundREM.com. Hit the like and subscribe buttons if you really like this content and want to give me an attaboy. I appreciate it.